I think in the last so many years of, like, last 6 7 years, being helping women to understand the fact that the line being that your womb doesn't define you. You don't have to die in the process of having a family. I will never judge you if you take the fertility route path, but I also feel like it, don't torture yourself for this. It's
I
not
agree.
worth it. What is the point if you have your babies but you're not alive, or you have your babies or after 10 years you have some deadly disease because of the drugs you put in your system? You try once, you give science a choice, you try a second time, but if it doesn't happen after that, don't keep doing this because you're financially able to do it. Don't torture your body, because I tell people very crudely, for a man it's about giving his sperm in a cup, but for women it's about so much torture of injections and embryo transfers and this retrieval and that retrieval.
Do you know why Sandhya says don't torture yourself? Then you must watch this video till the end to unfold and uncover what the real story is. So, Sandhya, my first thing is that I want to know about you. Like, I've seen a lot of, like posts, articles, and even, reels on different social media platforms about your life, like what happened and all. So, it would be nice if you can tell something about yourself, like what you do, where do you belong from, and how has your life been so far.
Oh, my life has been eventful. I can write a book about it. In fact, that is something I've been, many people have been asking me to do. It's like, you have to write a book because there's like so much that has happened in the 37 years of my life that I think there's a lot of learning from the various things that have happened. So basically, I was born and brought up in Dubai, and I then went to Pune to study. I'm an architect, so that's where I finished my graduation, and I also did a course on fine arts. So worked for about 2 years, and then I got married in 2009 and moved to Bangalore because that's where my husband is from. Are very much an arranged marriage. Met him in August and I was married in November. So I didn't even have like time to blink and think what was happening. I was 22 years old and knew nothing about the place. And even culturally, the families are so different. Like my parents come from a very different sort of upbringing and very atheist, and my in-laws are very different. They're a bigger family. My family is very nuclear, like it's four of us, but my in-laws family is like big. There were like two grandmothers and my in-laws, and my husband has three siblings, the three of them, two other siblings. So this was something that was so new for me, like a house full of people. And that's how I started my life here in Bangalore.
She went in for the biggest shocks of her life when they thought they are going to start a family.
In 2009, when we got married, we decided we wanted to start a family because of also if you think practically about it, the huge age gap, right? So he was already 30, 31. So the plan was, if we decide to have our children now, we'll be younger parents. And, by the time the children are in their so probably like in high school or whatever, we're still in our 40s. And, that was the plan. But like Murphy's law, plans never go as per what we put down in paper, because God has very different plans for us. He will ensure that whatever we plan doesn't take place. He wants to make our life very adventurous. So, 2010, I conceived. Within like 8 9 months of being married, I was pregnant, and I had a very early miscarriage. In at around 9 10 weeks, I miscarried, and following which they did like a DNC to like clean up the uterus. And I we tried for a long time after that, about 4 5 years we tried, and it just never happened. It never worked. So what we did is we went into this very well-known hospital in Bangalore, and decided to get some checkups done. And that's where the major goof up happened, because I went in for a very basic test, and this doctor, I think she was in a hurry, so she didn't even wait for me to like wake up. She just left before I could come out of anesthesia. And this procedure, I later learned, did not require anesthesia. So basically 15 minutes they just put me like under the medication, and I had no clue what was going on. And most procedures in an OT, they have a gauze count. So they had a 3 or 4 gauze count, and there was one missing, and they never bothered to check where it was. They just assumed it had fallen. And what had happened is, post this procedure, it was actually still there inside the vaginal cavity. They had not bothered to check. They sent me home like that. Now, there are so many arguments to this saying that gauze is not used, but because they use instruments in this procedure, there is some bleeding. So when they pull the instruments out, they have to dab it with gauze. Now, this gauze was left behind, and she never prescribed antibiotics. I went home, I had a full blown infection. I didn't know why. I had very foul smelling discharge. It was very bad. I pretty much I was smelling like a pig for like 11 days. And this is something that was so like shocking to me itself. Like, it's not normal when you have a medical procedure, especially women. You shouldn't have a discharge which is foul smelling. It should not be putrid. So first, and I was not able to pass urine. I had very bad lower back pain. I, this is very gory, but I actually put my hand and checked, and I pulled the gauze out. Like, I could feel it there. So it was basically sitting there in my cervix and acting as a filter for all the urine and everything. Pulled it out, started crying loudly, went to the hospital. They were so casual about it. They said, "Oh, it's it happened by mistake, and whatever goes in eventually comes out." And they had made this whole story about it. They refunded the money back to me in cash. There was no proof that they gave me the money back. There was no bill made. There was no paperwork. It was done so smoothly until I realized the consequences of what they had done, which was 6 months later.
The pain doesn't end here. There is lot more horror and terrified experiences that she went through while planning for a family. Stay tuned to my channel and check out in the second part what went through Sandhya's life and how she recovered from it.